think definitely at the moment, both internal and external, these are very much obviously internal ideas, but the landscapes are the external ideas, and I just love that of Calder Valley, moors, valleys. I can sense where I'm moving to, perhaps putting more trees in, putting more farmhouses in Peterbrook. I've started looking at Peterbrook stuff quite a bit to get some ideas of that, but those are the sort of things that excite me, that idea of colour. Just getting it down on something there, where the acrylic's easy, you can just go over it again, try different colour things. Yeah, number 2.
Number 2, what motivates and inspires you?
That's probably the same thing, getting it done. I liked Rothko's stories. He'd sit in front of a canvas like that for about 3 days, chain smoking, and building up this angst. Yeah. And build up this angst, and then all of a sudden get his big brush and make a start. And that's perhaps, I can go all day thinking of doing some artwork. Say we close at 5 o'clock, so 10 to 5, I'll get something down. 3.
I'm number 3.
Oh.
What process? Describe your process for creating. Well, it's changed a bit in the last 10 years, and that really came about because my wife said to me, "You're a flitter." So, what do you mean I'm a flitter? She said, "You move from one job to another, you can't settle on anything." And in the past, I've always painted in a fairly linear sort of way, finish one, start another. But now, actually, my process is multi-dimensional. I've often got anything up to a dozen bits of work going all at the same time, sometimes with completely different concerns within them. I don't use sketchbooks. I don't preliminary work on things. I allow the work to make its own way and respond to it as it goes along.
Yeah, I would say that's
I do
very
get
similar
to a point where if I feel as though it's comfortable, it's getting too much like a well-worn glove, that I will then embark on ways of subverting that. If that involves slashing the canvas with a knife, or it involves tearing a piece of work up and rearranging it, or scribbling over it, or blotting it out, it doesn't really matter. Any sort of subversive way of making it move into a different sort of sphere.
Quite a few years ago now, I was well, we have the shop and we have home, so I can paint in a bit of both. I was in the shop doing a little pen and postcards probably a few years ago, and I was doing it right, horizon, sky, land, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, perhaps I've been doing that for half an hour to an hour, just working at it. All of a sudden, my hand changed direction, started doing a square in it, a circle, triangle, probably just different shapes. And I thought, where the hell does that come from? No idea where it come from. My understanding is, because I've been doing the same thing so much, your mind has to move on to something different.
Sources in there, though, that I think are interesting, because the white things are very similar to Robert Mangold, Ryman, who were sort of just 1970s abstraction of the United States. I mean, Mangold's particularly noted for the fact that he made hundreds of paintings all white.
Oh yeah, one of those. Yeah. Well, it's really Malevich. I'm more aware of, and Black Square 1915. That's.
I think looking
an
at
absence.
what your concerns are, you need to try and find a way of bringing that all together, I suppose.
Well, one of the things was, when I'd done all 3 series, the Wronging of the Brush, the Towers and the Landscape, was to do a piece of artwork with all 3 themes in back. I might get to it, I might not. Sorry, we don't want to be here all day. Number 4, we on to number 4?
How does your background and personal experiences influence your work?
I think the idea that, as I said in the talk earlier, is I still find it difficult to call myself an artist. Is that what does that say?
Your background and personal experience?
Yeah, my parents would probably take us to museums and things like that. Not particularly art galleries, but that experience at the National Gallery, absolutely amazing. That energy in, because we understand spirituality, energy, same thing, energy in everything, just amazing. Number 5.
Is there a specific piece or series that holds a special significance?
No. I looked through them, I think yesterday, and I couldn't think of is it, you mean of my own artwork?
Your own, or like you said, that
Probably that one, because that was that was a strange experience. It was totally unique. I wasn't, oh, I'll have this shamanic journey or this meditation. It was just like boom, and never been to that part of the United States. Don't know it at all really, but just knew I was there. You know, in this wooded valley, small stream, and that being these four things, and then understanding that circular thing. Oh, we're on to number 6.
That's me. I suspect you can't answer this.
I'll have a go.
In view of the fact that you said, where did those squares, triangles and circles come from? Suddenly, boom, here's the question. How do you see your work evolving and changing in the future?
I would guess that, we're still having the shop. We're still signed up for 3 or 4 years, doing artwork in between. My understanding, whether it works out or not, is what I've said before. If I do enough of one thing, that I move on to something else, that it evolves and changes, and that'll be interesting to see how it changes. And also reading more, not just on the history of art, but on biographies of artists, the lives of the artists. Was that Varese? Oh, we're nearly right, yeah. Yeah. So understanding their mental process and how can I adapt little bits of those.
Well, they did, never mind you being able to understand theirs.
It's a good thing to do, I think, because I didn't come to terms with people like Barnett Newman or Rothko so much later. I mean, it's not till I realised that there's a massive connection with Judaism in Rothko's work, that I could begin to get this hype about spirituality. And, you know, when you start to claw into his background, you realise that Jewishness is there, the same way as it is in certain musicians' work. You can hear it quite distinctly.
This was one of the things about abstract. I've been watching some good YouTube videos on art history, where abstract music is always abstract, but art wasn't, because it was figurative. So once photography had started, there was nothing else to do in the figurative, well, relatively. So was it Kandinsky calling his paintings after musical ideas? So that was one of the things in the abstractions. Sorry, what are we up to now? 7?
Number 7. How have you faced any challenges and obstacles in your work?
My work. I think the life of an artist is at depths of despair to what's the highest thing you can? Total elation very quickly. So you look at your painting 1 minute, you think it's crap, and then somebody, oh, that's nice. Oh, wow. So that change.
In 1 minute, you think this is okay.
Yeah.
And then you come back a week later and you think,
it can work both. It can work both ways.
A kiss of death is to leave them up on your studio wall, because then you can't resist them getting your brush and kidding around.
And then you fuck it up. Yeah, I've done that before. Oh, yeah. I'll make it better and you make it worse and you throw it on the fire. Next one, are we on to 8? Number 8? 8. Who's got 8?
I've got 10.
Oh, I've got 8.
You've got it.
8. What are you currently working on? Well, those semi-abstract, getting the feel of the Yorkshire landscape, especially Calder Valley, into it. I don't think I'm working on anything else, am I, Jana?
If you're interested in doing any more geometric, have you heard of the ball pen?
I what?
used to run the graphics degree at Bradford, and I go back to doing it by hand before computers, when we used to draw things by hand. And if I was doing that, what you're talking about there, rather than spending 40 hours, I'd use, to get the edges, sharp edges, I'd use a ball pen, because you can put gouache or poster colour or whatever you want in it, and you'd get clean, sharp edges. And if you get a compass with a ball pen, you can draw circles as well. By the way.
You see, I don't know that.
No,
so the only, but even listening to that, perhaps if I was aware, I might have gone for that option of it. But sitting there, and same, with those two wrong end of the brush and those, it's very meditative.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, quite often you're doing that and think, oh shit, I've left the kettle on or something like that, where your mind goes somewhere else. Yeah, doing what?
I understand.
Yeah. Just, I think any artwork, when doesn't matter what it is, once you're in it, you and the artwork are one.
Yeah.
And it just, the universe goes away. Oh, you are, I like these ideas, you are the universe. Did anybody see that meme going through Facebook about a month ago? There was 2 signs, one saying, find yourself, and the other one says, lose yourself. And there's somebody looking at the signs going, fuck. But it's the same thing, there's no duality. There's oneness. Number 9? Are we on?
No,
Number 9?
Sorry.
Oh, you've got it.
What advice would you give your younger self? Well, I know what my missus would give me. She would say, don't get married, don't have children, don't buy a house, go and find yourself a nice little garret somewhere and get on with the bloody job. That's what she would say. And I think, my career has been littered with times of complete indolence, and I would say my younger self ought to be telling herself to get on with it a bit more, because then I wouldn't be trying to fit 40 years into 10.
I suppose I'm trying to do that, trying to cap,
I
that
think when you
idea.
come to
But
it,
just
it's inevitable.
finding the time, usually by the time we get home, I've done too much, but, I can go down and we've got a slightly damp cell and I've got a big canvas about that big on the go and a big brush. and getting some, something on with it.
Your description of the imposter syndrome is with all of us.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Yeah,
I mean, it's just, I think it's taken me probably 50 years to think that I might be an artist, and I've been practicing all that time, but I still look at the stuff and think, well,
Find a good therapist. And in a couple of sessions, they'll certainly out. In my therapist's office, the second one I had is in Ellen, and she had 3 of my paintings, wrong end of the brush series, but previous ones. And the one in the middle, was it? I think I called it my anxiety rainbow because I did it very quickly with anxiety. And I think that was in the middle, and there's a red and a green one. Now, the red paintings I always sell, and a green one, And she asked them over the weeks, which is your favourite of these? And it's the one which I didn't think people would like because, it was different. But actually, that's the one that had most energy. So the more energy you put into it, the more the viewer senses it, like that, like the Van Gogh and everything.
Just say one quick thing. I think one of the observations I've had with John's artwork in the shop when people see it is that people see different things in it all the time. He had this one where I looked at it in the morning and said, it's the sea, it looked like the rough sea and the sky and then perhaps some waves going along the top. And it wasn't, it was supposed to be called a landscape, but it looked like the sea. And several people have come in the shop and said, oh, I like that one with the sea. And you couldn't understand why they were seeing the sea instead of the land.
Yeah, I sold it. If you sell something, it's obviously too cheap. I've been in the motor trade. Yeah, if you sell a car, you haven't put enough on it. But the people who'd never been before, just seen it in passing, and they bought 2. They bought 2 paintings. That one that Janice talked about, and which were a 20 by 16 and a 16 by 16. Yeah, they're both. I was very, very pleased.
Everybody sees different things in them.
Well, it is. What you put.
Get it when you start to doing it.
Still don't get it. She still doesn't. Any questions?
I'm endeavouring to.
The whole marketplace is baffling because, what you feel you might have done, it's not what the person coming and looking at it. They're bringing a whole different set of experiences. And they can like things you hate.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Hence we've got art galleries stuffed full of all different types of work, So, and whenever I visit something like the National or the Tate, there are things I make a beeline for, and there are other things I wouldn't go within a million miles of, And I think that's it's the name of the game, isn't it? We all got those.
Unfortunately, we don't get out much, do we, Jenna?
Postcard.
About 'em.
Postcard to the
Oh, yeah. How long was that? About 6-7 years ago? I'd been doing a series of artworks, probably starting with that size, 5x7, and then some wood just like 10x10, 12. And it kept getting to about this size. Through the post, so do the artwork, make it into a postcard, take it to the post office, send it back to myself. It's been through the Horizon system. So that was part of the process that it's been through. Anyway, so I thought, right, okay, so I've got an 8x4 piece of ply. painted an abstract landscape on it, and on the back made it into a postcard and put everything. I even painted a stamp on it and sent it to Tate Modern, unsolicited. Anyway, I went on the back of a DPD wagon, yeah. So they destroyed it straight away, yeah. Yeah. So I got a letter back on it, a letter saying sorry because it's been unsolicited. We've destroyed it straight away. But I did get in on the front of the Huddersfield Examiner, didn't I? Looking a bit sad. But it's a great story. It was worth it to tell you the story, of course.
When I was a student, the Pernod company used to sponsor student exhibitions.
Who did?
The Pernod company, the one that makes the absinthe from France, and they sponsored the students to put on an exhibition at the Lang Art Gallery, and we were so fed up with the sort of terms of reference that we actually made a series of rules for making paintings, and we gave it to 7 different students who all made the painting according to the rule, which were quite strict, so all the paintings looked the same. They then entered the competition as separate artists, and that went before the judging committee, who went, and then the college got a phone call saying, what are they doing here? They're taking the mickey. Oh, no, they're not taking the mickey, they've all done this independently. So in order to kind of legitimise it, what the competition judges did was they put them all on display on a single wall. And had to put all the 7 artists underneath to acknowledge the thing. But it was intended as a piss take. Yeah. Because
you mean
these things
Duchamp?
are so exclusive. Sometimes they do need to be pulled down a peg or two. Sometimes they think that the artist is there for their benefit most of the time.
Well, I like the story of Duchamp's fountain.
Yeah.
When they said, I can't remember everything, but they said you can put in anything you want. So I put that in, and they said, no, you can't put it in. So they broke their own rules. So I'll just finish with this. WTF artworks. I want people to look at my artwork and go, what the fuck? I don't want them to get it. So I've been an artist all my life. I only started creating artwork since about 2017, born at Ogden, inspired by pen and landscape. My artwork is not to understand. So I don't want people to understand it, because if you understand something totally, you move away from it. It's to experience as is life itself, so you don't say it's good or bad. Difference between an artist and a non-artist? Both have the same idea and only one will create it. Can I finish with a story of Wayne Thiebaud going to an art dealer in New York in about 1964? So you know Wayne Thiebaud? Yeah, everybody's aware.
Okay,
Yeah. So he'd been an art lecturer for about 20, 30 years, so I better be a professional artist. So I was in California, but went to New York, tried all the Madison Avenue or wherever, where all the art dealers were. The sort of story, I don't know how true it is, Alan Stone was a New York art dealer. Coming out of his office onto the street and bumps into him and says, so what are you doing? He says, I'm taking these, got these, I'm an artist going around all the things. He says, I'm an art dealer, come up, let's have a look at them. So he gets his portfolio, his big things on. And he says, so Alan Stone says to him, right, okay, let's have a look at the artworks I get to. He says, so right, he says, what we'll do is we'll try it up here on this wall. He says, here's a Renoir, here's a Picasso, we'll put yours in the middle. And he said, we'll see how it stands up to him. So he did, put it up. He says, yeah, it's good enough. He said, it's a strong painting. He didn't say it was a good or bad painting. So the idea that we get away from good and bad art and say, is it strong enough? Is the art strong enough to stand up to that scrutiny? So that's what I look for in things. Is it a strong painting? I look at some of mine, I show people in the shop, there's like 4 in a corner. One of them, yeah, that's a strong painting. The Baphomet, that's a strong painting. The one at Stonehenge, that's okay. And I've actually got a commission off that, haven't I? And somebody wanted to paint in a different colour. And there's sort of an abstract, one thin abstract. And I don't think it's strong at all, although some people say, it's all right, perhaps a humour in me. But hopefully I can tell, from my artwork, which is a strong artwork and which isn't, rather than saying that's a good piece and that's a bad piece. Thank you. I'll finish there, shall I? Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. I got going after a bit.